Navy blue blood flowing through our veins. Sitting in the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old style beers out at the game. Let's go Cubby, Son Ranto
with Michael,
Son Ranto
and Crawley,
Son Ranto and the lovable loser. Son Ranto
with Michael,
Son Ranto
and Crawley,
Son Ranto and the lovable losers. Son Ranto.
Ooh, that one was a little extra there, Mr. Cotton. Hey, welcome to the Son Ranto Show, a very special edition of the Son Ranto Show. I'm Danny Rocket. I'm here with Crawley the Cub, and down below we got Michael Cotton, Cub X3. And Crawley, why don't you explain what we're doing tonight?
Well, tonight we got a real special show here. We have with us a real Major League ball player who spent 16 seasons in the bigs, 8.5 with the Cubs. You remember him as a real anchor of those 2007, 2008 teams. World Series champion with the Boston Red Sox in 2013. He was with the front office when the Cubs won it in 2016. Broadcaster on MLB Network. And now you see him on marquee as host of Off the Mound. We're proud to introduce Ryan Dempster.
Come on in.
Hey.
Evening, everyone. Evening, guys.
Hey, how you doing? How's your night going?
Good. I actually had a daddy-daughter day pretty much with my youngest, my 2.5-year-old. Kind of spent the whole day with her, and we just did a ton of fun stuff and had some dinner, and it's night time for her, and I'm just chilling in my office going through baseball cards. And
I've noticed that about you is that you've really gotten into the hobby. What got you into baseball cards?
I've been that way. I got away from baseball cards for a while is what happened. I actually, one of my first jobs was working at a card store, and then I'd have to put mirrors on the shelves because my buddies would come in and be like, what about that one up there? And so then when I turn away, they'd try and rifle cards off the counter. I had to combat that somehow. I just loved it. I was a big hockey card collector, a hockey sticker collector, like the little peachy books that you would get and you peel the stickers off and put them in. And it's been fun. My son's now, going to be 15 here soon, and he's right into it. So we're doing it together. It's a ton of fun.
It really is booming right now. The card hobby right now, it's just absolutely booming.
Do you still have the cards from when you were a kid and growing up, or did you lose a lot of those, like when you left and your mom threw them away or something like that?
No, I had a bunch of them put away. So some good cards in there. And then my dad has by far the largest collection of my cards that you'll ever see in your life.
I feel like our parents' generations learned the lessons, right? Because they all had parents who, had the Joe DiMaggio that would have been worth $50,000 or something.
Yeah. Yep. Meanwhile,
right. Everybody's like, oh, I used to put up my bike spokes, and then I'd go to do that. My dad's like, hey, I wouldn't do that. Why don't you use a deck of cards, like a playing cards, And I was like, see?
Smart idea. Now, you collected hockey cards. You grew up in British Columbia, Canada. What got you playing, say, baseball more than hockey?
Yeah, couple things. It was, first of all, like I just grew up in a slow pitch softball playing family. So, it was weekends at the beer gardens, collecting pop cans and beer cans and returning those for 5 cents a piece. And we don't have a rover to go play. Somebody give Ryan a glove when I was 4 years old. And I just went and stood in the outfield and chased down balls while the other people were sipping on their cold ones. So, and it just kind of went and just steamrolled that way. And then my papa, my dad's dad was really into baseball. So when I'd go out there on weekends and we'd watch Mariner games and Blue Jay games and I'd sit on his lap and he'd sit there and, tell me about the game and this is how you play it. And this is what you got to do. And then I just fell in love with it. And it was just contagious. And he sent me to baseball camps when I was a kid. And I tried hockey for a year, but it was we didn't have a lot of money. So it's an expensive sport for some people. And then B, the hockey rink was like 30 minutes away. I had 2 younger brothers and my mom was going like back and forth to the rink and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, you guys can play everything and no hockey or just hockey and nothing else. And we were like, let's go. I skated like Happy Gilmore anyway, so it was like
Right.
But you
Now-
were a big hockey fan, because I remember in 2010 the Hawks go on that run,
Yeah.
and you were like at a whole bunch of games, and I was there the day they brought the trophy out, and I think Ted Lilly had a no-hitter going into the ninth against the White Sox.
Yeah.
But you went out and partied with the Blackhawks the night they had the cup, and then you pitched the next day. And you said you pitched well. You pitched over 5 innings. I think you gave up 1 or 2 runs. But what did you say? You said if you're going to be out with the Owls, you got to wake up and soar with the Eagles. Is that right?
Yeah, and those guys were the Owls and the Eagles the same night. That's like one of the coolest photos I've ever had in my entire life. One of the coolest experiences, you know. And I'll never forget, because Taves had the cup and he brings it out to the mound. And I know the rules, right? Like, you don't pick up the Stanley Cup unless you win it. That's just how it goes. You can hold it, you just don't put it above your head. And he goes to give it to me. I go, what do you want me to do with this? He goes, pick it up. And I go, I can't. He goes, if you don't, 40,000 people here are going to boo you really quick. Which, you know, wasn't really that, you know, unfamiliar. But I just was like, all right. And I'm telling you, it was like I lifted it up and it was just like this. It felt like a feather. It was such an adrenaline rush. You know, here I am, this Canadian kid, as a baseball player who loved hockey growing up, standing on my mound at Wrigley Field with the Stanley Cup champions, and they give me that thing. It was, I mean, it's right there behind winning the World Series. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And as a Canadian, you were second in strikeouts, your victories, starts, innings pitched. Obviously, Fergie Jenkins, your fellow Canadian brethren, was the number 1 on all that. But you were also inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
You know what? And that's the thing. Fergie can't have it all. That was incredible. Him to be putting it on. But, like, yeah, he had wins. He has strikeouts, complete games, all this stuff. But I had him in base on balls, hit by pitches, and I gave up way more grand slams. So take that.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we have a tape of actually Fergie. We paid for his cameo to do an introduction to the show. You got to check this out. He totally butchers it. Check this out.
This is Fergie Jenkins. You're listening to Son Ranto, the 69th Beth Cup podcast.
Just butchered the whole thing. Sean Rando. I'm like, come on, man. It's, you know, it's phonetic. But no, that's got to be such a cool experience to be really one of the few kind of Canadian baseball players. I know that Rowan Wick right now is maybe the only one in the Cup system right now. I'm not sure of that, but there's not a lot of guys that come out of Canada. So, I mean, do you feel like that? I know that they're trying to grow the sport all the time, and I'm sure you have lots of friends and family that are still up there. Do you feel like that there's going to be a time where there'll be maybe the need or want for another team up in Canada, or is there just going to be the Blue Jays?
No, and I know firsthand that there's a group, you know, Eric Gagne is part of the group that's trying to get the team in Montreal back. I always felt like Montreal could sustain a team if you did it the right way. You know, you make a smaller stadium. You know, I look at like the Montreal Alouettes. So when the Alouettes were playing out at the Stade Olympique there, they weren't drawing very well. It was the occasional. Then they started playing at McGill's University downtown. They're sold out every game. You know, the Stade's so far away. You know, when they built it at the Expo at that time, it made sense, but it's just hard to get people to go there. It was, you know, and the area it was in, just a lot of kind of older homes there, and just not the place to go to watch a baseball game. Place for a rave, actually. Interesting story about that. True story. I'll get back to this Team SX. So we're playing in Montreal. This is why I love the Stade. It was like I pitched well there. I pitched well against the Expos. It was in my home country. You know, we never went to Toronto because I was in the NL, so it was always great. But so I pitched great. The next day I go to like run around the bases or I run around the outfield and do my running and stuff. And as I'm like every time coming around the right field corner, I just can hear this like boom, 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 you know, and I'm like, what is going on? You know, I was like, their club, and it was early. So I'm like, the players wouldn't be. I thought it was maybe a car park back there. So then I just tucked in behind the center field wall and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder. And then I get into the inners of the stadium and I open this door and everybody's in white, and there is a full rave going. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon from the night before. You know,
Oh my God.
Well, see,
like with IVs hooked up to them, they're almost overdosing. And I
see
go back
what, Ryan?
and I'm like, guys, get your shorts and shirts on and your glow sticks. We're going. Come on.
Now, see, Ryan, if Rob Manfred wants to grow baseball, why not allow raves at the park to get younger people in?
Well, right now we can't do that, but eventually when we get back to it, I think it's a great idea. You want to connect with the younger crowd. You know, they're only going to come out to their seat for a couple innings anyways, so it's perfect.
Now,
They try to play the rave music while you're sitting in the stands anymore, and it's a little rough.
Yeah.
Now, you
Between
came
innings.
into the league in 1998. You started with the Marlins, and I just love this picture right here. Look at the young Ryan.
Doesn't
Dempster.
even look like you.
Wow.
Like,
But-
who is that guy? That can't be Ryan Dempster.
Do you remember your first start at Wrigley Field?
I do. Yeah, I struck out Brant Brown to start the game on 3 pitches. I'm like, piece of cake. Told you I should have been starting Jim to Mr. Leland. You know. Then I walked Mickey Morandini, and then Sosa took me deep. Then I walked Mark Grace, and Henry Rodriguez took me deep. And I was like, whoa, that escalated quickly.
So that was your
And you're
first
like,
start.
but did you see the first guy? I nailed him.
And all I'm thinking in my head is, man, those guys down in the bullpen that were yelling all that crap at me were right. I do suck.
Now, after Miami, you go to the Reds, and then you come to the Cubs in 2004. Recovering from Tommy John surgery. What was it like transitioning from being a starter to a closer to a reliever?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how it happened, to be honest with you. So I wanted to come to the Cubs. I loved playing there. Like, my first start, it was like, I got to play. I remember that moment running out to center field and being like, I got to be a Cub player here sometime. Like, this is amazing. And then, it all happens. I'm hurt. I had Tommy John. I was signing with the team to rehab basically the whole year. And then they had the team option as long as I was healthy. And so Jim Henry signed me, and things were going great. Rehab was going awesome. I was throwing well. I made the A-ball all-star team as per a fake press release. They got me. They put a little play on me. I started so many games for the Lansing Glugnuts that they just said, "Oh, you made the Midwest League All-Star team." I'm like, really? Doesn't make sense. But, and then we had, you had Maddox, Woody, Pryor, Zambrano, and Clement. So we had 5 really good starters, and it was like, I'm throwing the ball really well in AAA, cruising AAA hitters. My arm feels great. So I called up Dusty and Jim and was like, hey, what if I just started throwing out of the pen? Like, you don't need another starter. And if need be, if something happens to a starter, I can get extended again real quick. So they were like, you would do that? And I'm like, yeah, like had a good team in 2004. Like we were close, until that last 10 days of the season, as everybody remembers. But so then it just kind of happened like that. I made a couple relief appearances and they put me in the bullpen. And it was an adrenaline rush, something different. But I thought I was going to go back to starting, which I did the following spring training. And then it was like, hey, we don't have a closer. LaTroy was struggling. Borowski was hurt, I think. And it was like, all right, cool. And I just I just saved every game. I blew my first save opportunity. And then it was just like save. It was crazy.
So what's the difference with the preparation? Like starter, middle reliever, to be a closer? Like what's the mindset that you have to do those 3 jobs, and how are they different?
Yeah, well, starter, I can be so regimented as far as what I'm going to do because I other than my day of pitching, I pretty much know the outcome of that day. Like I'm throwing a bullpen, I'm lifting my legs, I'm running poles, I'm going for a distance run, I'm lifting upper body, I'm throwing another side, I'm doing these different things that are easy to do because I've been doing it my whole life and I'm just conditioned. So it's like clockwork to do that. I had to learn, like, what do I do? When do I lift? Do I lift after games? Do I lift heavy legs, but then, before the game, and then all of a sudden I got no legs to pitch. So I kind of picked brains of relievers. Like I'd go out before Trevor Hoffman was great with me because he just was like, try to run every day. Remember, you might pitch 5 days in a row, and so you got to always have your arm ready. So run 20 minutes, get the sweat in, get the lactic acids out of your arm. Don't go too long without lifting. If you think, oh, you're gonna, save it because you might pitch tomorrow, no, just have your routine and try and set it. So I was really kind of just trying to set a different routine, but try to stick to that. And And then the big thing I did, which I asked, and they were so great about the first year, was I got to pitch every third day. I was one of those guys, the longer I went without pitching, the more wild I got. I didn't have as much command. So Dusty was really good about just getting me in games every third day. Even if like he would say, "Oh, what if I need you 3 days in a row?" I'm like, "Cool, use me 3 days in a row. I don't care if it's 5 in a row. Let's go." Like, I'll figure it out. If that means that we're winning 5 games in a row and you need your closer, it has to be somebody else. We're in a good spot, like that's a good thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the adrenaline rush of it. I really love starting.
You went 33 saves and 35 opportunities in 05. And then after a few lean years, 2005, 2006, Lou Piniella comes to town. What was that like? I mean, what a transition between managers, between Dusty and Lou. I mean, that had to be night and day, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of the same philosophies. They managed, successful managers in the big leagues, and they were really good about letting the veteran guys do their thing. I really respected that, and I like that. I've always been a proponent of, like, you're doing a job, right? Like, I'm not a little kid. I'm being paid to do a job. I know it's fun and it's a game, but if you're going to be like looking over your shoulder going, are you stretching or are you doing what you need to be doing? You probably really shouldn't have that guy in your system. You should be somewhere else, So I both of those guys, it was easy to play for because I was a guy that I didn't need that guidance. So it was nice to have that. Lou was just a little bit more, in your face. Like, I think this might be Cincinnati right here, to be honest with you. Opening day of 2007. So I'll just backstory. I pitched Friday in Vegas. So you can imagine Friday night was pretty fun. And Saturday morning until I got to the ballpark at about noon. I think I slept underneath a desk in the locker room. And I did, because Larry Rothschild walked in, found me, and he goes, "Are you fucking shitting me?" So we go Saturday, then Sunday off. We traveled Saturday, Sunday off. Monday we lose 16-4. I think Z pitched that day. Tuesday off. So now it's Wednesday. We're winning 8-1, and I'm getting an inning of work in the 9th inning, and I get the first guy out, and then I walk in Encarnacion on 4 pitches, fastballs down and away that I just miss. I'm not wild. I just miss. And yeah, I should have thrown the ball way more. Then I go 1-0 to Griffey Jr., and here comes Lou, and I'm like, what is he doing? Like, I'm just like, you could see my body language was like, why are you out here? And he just goes, "Son, what's the problem?" And I go, "What do you mean, what's the problem?" And he goes, "It's 30 degrees out. We're winning 8-1. There's Montgomery and ribs in the clubhouse. Let's go. Throw it over the plate." And then he just walked away.
That's awesome.
You've got a great Lou Piniella impersonation, and I used to try to do it on the show. That's when the show started. I mean, there's just a lot of luck. You got a 5-run lead, and whether the guy misses the error or what, like that, he's got that kind of thing. He just stutters a lot, and he's always thinking on his feet. There, what made you start getting? I want to talk a little bit about your showbiz kind of career that you got going. But what made you get into acting? You do the Harry Carey impersonation. You got a little Lou Piniella action going. You took improv classes, I read. So when did that start, and what happened in your? Did you always act? Were you in musicals and stuff, in plays as a kid or anything?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask my babysitter when I was a kid, she'd say about then is when it started. Like, I actually ran into my me and 2 brothers. I grew up with 2 younger brothers, and my dad is still a kid. So, my poor mom at the dinner table, it was just us movie lines and, jokes. And my dad emails me 5-6 jokes a week. It's like he's always trying to find the humor in life. And so I always just kind of had that. And then playing wise in high school, I was that way. I was the guy who was always pulling pranks. Like on the basketball road trips, I was putting leaners on guys' doors where you fill up the bucket of water, tilt it on, knock on the door. They look up, they don't see anything. They open, just huge waterfall in there. That's just always kind of how I was, and I loved it, and I loved it, and I appreciate it when somebody did it to me. I wasn't one of those guys where you can't get me. You just got to be careful. Will Oman's well aware of that. I loved it, and then as I started playing and I got into professional baseball and big league baseball, I have the utmost respect for everybody's work ethic and their jobs and things. But if you think you're going to go 187 days, 162 games in 187 days and be serious all the time, it's going to be a grind, man. It's going to be hard and it's going to be really, really tough. And you can do it. Even the best of players will laugh or get along. You just have to know when those moments are. And I feel like that was a huge part of my career, was being that guy in the locker room that could, when a guy was really struggling, find a way for him to laugh at himself. If you can laugh at yourself, then that's a lot of fun. 2008,
you didn't really struggle in the locker room too much. That team was absolutely amazing. And so many people my age really just loved that 2007, 2008 team. 2008, though, you guys had the best record in baseball, but the finish was kind of disappointing against the Dodgers. But what were things that you remember specifically from that 2008 season?
Yeah, just how close we were, and how like we really just trusted each other so much from the get-go, because we had that good team in 2007, and then we got better in the winter. Like we got Jim Edmonds, and I know I'm missing some other pickup. Yeah, Fukudome, Kosuke came, and we got better. We got another reliever. We were in a good shape. And then I made that comment in spring training, we were going to win the World Series, and it wasn't like, sometimes when guys say stuff like that, it was, you can kind of be like, oh, I don't know if you should have said that. Everyone's like, all right, cool, Demp said it, let's go with it, and it was just a tight group of guys. It didn't matter where you were from, we just really, really gelled. You go to dinner and it was 12, 15 guys deep. It was all the time, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of hanging out in the hotel rooms, laughing, joking around, drinking beers. And we really, really gelled. And a lot of us are still really close to this day, that team. And it felt that way, and we're still that way now. So it doesn't matter if it's Scott Air or Derek Lee or whatever it is. It's just like we're still all really close. So it was a great team. We should have won the World Series. We had a good enough team. We ran into a hot team. I didn't pitch very well. We didn't play good defense. Z didn't pitch well. And unfortunately, we ran into a team that pitched really well against us.
Yeah, I think the fans felt that way about that 2008 team. I was living in New York City at the time, and I'd walk around the park listening at night, listening to Ron Santo. All those. It was such a great season, and up until that point, it was probably the best Cubs team that I had seen. And I really was like, I was telling my ex-wife at the time, I was like, oh man, this is our year. I know we're going to make it. And then for it to end so quickly, was that kind of a shock to you guys? And like sitting there at the end of that kind of year, I'm like, I can't believe it's over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, we were planning on playing all the way to the end and winning the whole thing, and really felt that way. We weren't nervous. It was nothing about that. It was like, it just like, whoa. Like it just happened so quick, and
it really felt that way to us too. I was just like, like almost like my niece just got cut off. I was like, well, I guess that's it. See you next year.
Well, and it felt that way for us in the dugout. Like after I gave up that grand slam, we felt that from the fans. Like we felt the fans. It's almost like I remember being like, dude, it's only 4-2. It's not 10-0. But I think what happened is we were so good and we were beating everybody, and especially at Wrigley, we were just lethal. It was like, what? This isn't supposed to happen. And I think everybody sitting in their seats was like, this is weird. Are we in a nightmare right now? What's going on here?
Well,
we've talked about that
game. I kicked the ball around the infield, and then you're down 2-0 going to LA. It was really going to be really tough to come back.
I'm a season ticket holder, so I was at those games, and I remember that game you're talking about, NLDS game 1, and it was kind of a tightrope. You kept getting in and out of jams, just real there, and then it was just such an emotional game, even though they were up 2-0, and it was, and you were at 1-2, 2 outs on Loney. With the bases.
Yeah, and the pitch before he fouled off, this is like when you can go back, he fouled off. I don't even know how he fouled it off. I've watched that pitch so many times. It barely ticks his bat, like just barely hits his bat. And it was the second split I threw it. And I remember now thinking, like, in the moment, I knew because he was in swing mode that I wanted to throw another one, but it was like, I don't know that was the right pitch. And maybe my lack of conviction in that moment, even though it was, if executed, it might have been the right pitch. I just felt like a high fastball might have been a better play, looking back. But yeah, it's crazy. That little small, tiny little game of inches, game of quarter inches, led us, to that Grand Slam. But the Grand Slam, let's be honest, the Grand Slam because I walked a bunch of guys and, I was trying to be too perfect instead of just going right after them because my stuff was incredible that year.
And so when the crowd deflated after that, I mean, I felt that sitting at a bar in New York City. Like I felt that. I was like, oh, here we go. The stupid Cub fans are going to wreck this again by that was game one, correct? So, so you can't act like your dog just died after, as you said, it was only 4-2, but Cub fans acted like it was 100-2, and that was kind of our mentality. You weren't on the team that won the World Series, but you won it a few years before that with the Red Sox towards the end of your career. That had Boston had already gotten over that hump. When you saw the Cubs do it, did you feel that there was just a sort of a momentum, like you were around for the 3-1 deficit, Cubs come back and win that? Did you feel that, I don't know, that there was something about an inevitability of both those championships, the 2013 and the 2016 champ, even though it's two different years, a lot of the same players, key players on those teams. But did you feel like there was some sort of inevitability that I don't care if we're down 3-1, we're going to win this? And did you feel that with the Red Sox? And did you feel that watching from outside on the or outside on the 16 team?
Yeah, I did because, like you said, we had a lot of the guys, here, Lester, Lackey, Rossi, and Zobrist coming from just winning a World Series. You had guys who won. And so there was this incredible sense of, like, especially after 15, you just ran into a buzzsaw of New York Mets. It was like, okay, like, even though it's down 3-1, and even throughout the course of the whole year, it's like, it's already written, just push play. Like, that was kind of like a philosophy that the players take, is that, the outcome's there. It's the World Series. It's ours to have. And for me, the 2016 team was like being a guy on the 60-day DL with no chance at a rehab assignment. Like that, those guys treated me. I was in the locker room all the time, probably too much. I probably annoyed a bunch. I just was around it, and I watched it from the outside without actually having to be out on the field or in the dugout. I got to watch it, to watch how guys were and how they prepared. And I'll never forget walking to the ballpark before Game 5 when Lester pitched, and Theo and I walked over there, and we were both very calm. He was like, "Oh, we got this." It wasn't, and he's like high strung as can be, right? Like, he's like, it's hard when you don't have control and you're the jefe, you're the president of the team, but you don't have any control of the outcome. It's a really hard thing to deal with. So, and he was super calm, and I was calm, and we just were like, yeah, we got this. Like, we knew we had Lester, and then it was like, and I felt the buzz from the fans felt that way. And that's one thing that fans have to realize is, like, whether we can only do what we can do out there as players, but we do feel the energy. And so the guys felt that. If you ask guys, they realized even down 3-1 that everybody, it wasn't like, oh, here we go, or like, come on. It was like, no, we're going to win this game, and then we got Arrieta going, and we'll get to a Game 7, and we'll just figure it out. Like, that was kind of the feeling that everybody felt. And so then you get those results. And I think that stemmed from the players acting that way. The fans see them acting that way, talking about things like that, during batting practice, and somebody's like, hey, it's your year. And they're like, yeah, we know. Yeah. Get ready for the parade. Like, when you talk that way, you can will a lot of things into existence if you keep that mindset, and then all of a sudden, a team like that in 2016, they didn't need that throughout the course of the regular season. They were so good, boat rolling everybody, beating everybody. We were just cruising. Then the moment they needed that love and support from the fans to be like, we got your back, it was like, oh, man. It was like Hulk Hogan when he's doing the sleeper hold, and it's like 1, 2, and here come the fans, and it's like, no. Like, that's what it was like for them. They're like, you can't tap us out. We're going, man. I'm going to start. I'm going to give you a size 13 to the face and a leg drop. Here it comes.
Yeah, we talked about that during that series. The first 2 games in Chicago were very expensive tickets, and it was a very expensive crowd in there. But by that Game 5, it was a lot of those tickets were going a lot cheaper, and it seemed like maybe the people coming in had a different perspective, and they were just happy to be in there rather than trying to be, oh, I have to be here because I can afford to be at the first World Series game at Wrigley in,
it was
6 years.
You're right, Michael. It was definitely a different vibe. I went to games 3 and 4, and it was tight. And I was yelling at people. I was like, "Hey, everybody, loosen up! Come on! This is all year long. We've had this momentum, and now you got a bunch of people that spent $3,500 on one seat for one ball game, and that's a heck of a lot of money. It's just a baseball game, people, But then I got a friend into the bleachers for $1,000 on the last night. Or on the game 5, and
I guess it wasn't that cheap, but it was cheaper.
But $1,000, well, it's a 1/3 the price than my friend Paul paid up in Highland Park. So, anyway, it's just like, and so I think you did have a different crowd, and that's what I felt, Ryan. It's just like that. 2008, that one pitch 4-2, and everybody acted like the sky was falling and the world was over. I felt that in games 3 and 4. So. It's that here we go again mentality that Cub fans had that I felt like screwed you over in 2008, that maybe we just kind of got over that hump in one game called game 5, in 16. So,
but that's the way it goes. And for me, I'm always a big believer in the fact that things happen for a reason, and that was the team that was destined to win. And that's super cool, and we all learned from that, right? I think Cub fans, there was a lot of talk about that, and I think Cub fans learned from that, and that's why I think you felt that. And I totally agree. Like, for a Cub fan, I knew a lot of people who were season ticket holders, and they're like, I can sell games 3 and 4 and pay for all of my season tickets, and then I'll go to game 5. And so you did have that. Like, even when whoever it was hit the homer off of Lester, it wasn't like, oh God, it was like, okay, cool, let's go. And it was just this awesome, it was really awesome to witness it as a person who was out there on that mound for 8.5 seasons, wearing that uniform, to sit in the stands amongst all the fans and be a fan and cheer for those guys. I could feel it without a doubt. It was a special, incredible special year. There'll be nothing like it. We'll never, there'll be nothing like it because the Seattle Mariners could go 100 years without winning, but it's not the Cubs. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking the Seattle Mariners. I'm just saying, like, they didn't get a team there until the late 60s. It's like this is like the epitome of the greatest sports championship ever won. Not even like 50 years from now when the Browns win a Super Bowl. Like that won't even be as good as this. It's a pretty incredible thing.
Well, maybe 21-24 when it's been another 108 years.
So, Ryan, people don't realize sometimes that you had a big role in that 2016 team. Because of you, the Cubs got Kyle Hendricks. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a weird time. I never wanted to leave Chicago. I was going through a divorce at the time, and I had 3 kids. And now I got 4. But sort of people were like, it's weird when people were like, oh, he's not accepting this trade or he's not doing this. And it's like, how hard I had to work to get 10 years at Wrigley and 5 with the same team. And then I love this city and I love going to Wrigley Field, even when we're losing, because I'm trying to set an example to those other players about how to go about your business so that maybe they can be on a winning team. And it's like, but you should just accept a trade. And it's like, that's what people don't understand. It's like, yeah, but I love it here. I don't want to go play in Atlanta. I don't want to go play in St. Louis. I don't want to go I want to play here. So I had to really, really figure out what was the best for me.
And fans weren't trying to run you out of town either.
No.
So you were getting the love from the fans too. That's tough.
Yeah. And it was hard because it's like, don't go. And it's like, man. But I also understood the business, and Theo was really great from the beginning of spring training. Like, hey dude, listen, there might be a chance at some point, if we're not going to be in this, that you might have to be traded. So I don't want you to be caught off guard. Let's always try and talk about this. And then as the season went on, and then I really want to go to the Dodgers because one of my best friends, Ted Lilly, was there, and they had a really good team. And I was like, all right, let's go to LA. I'm from the West Coast. I'm like, this would be great. And it just didn't work out. I talked to Ned Cleddy. It wouldn't work out. And so then I'm over in the offices, and they're like, now it's getting tight, right? Because now they got I'm dealing. I got like a 2.25 ERA, and I'm getting all these phone. Hey, will you go here? Will you go? You know, we go here? No. And he's like, we go to the Yankees? I'm like, shave my beard? No way. You know?
Right.
And then he goes, how about Texas? And I was like, ooh, like multiple reasons. One, I was drafted by Texas. So to go back to the original roots of it all was really appealing. And they had a really good team. So I was like, yeah. And he's like, we like the package. They're two young prospects that, you know, we figure one of them could be good. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. It was like 5 minutes before they faxed the paperwork over the, you know, and I'm like just in the other office going, like what? Listen to a fax go through. And I got traded to Texas, and it worked out. It was awesome. It was a great place to go, a great place to play. Texas is a phenomenal first-class organization, and I got to go back there and pitch. Two out of my first 3 starts sucked, but after that, it was a enjoyable pitching, even though it was the American League.
And you talked about how hard you didn't want to leave Chicago. You didn't want to leave Wrigley. I can tell you because I'm always around the ballpark. I used to see you and Ted either biking or walking, or you just what about playing at Wrigley just was different than the other places you played at?
Well, you're truly in a neighborhood. You know, even Fenway's great, but you don't have all 4 sides going around like you do at Wrigley. It's, you know, it's the corner bars, the people. You know, the walking home and it's like, hey, Demp, you know, want a beer? It's like, sure, let's play a game of bags. Let's go, cornhole. You know?
And you also ball hawk, correct?
Yeah, I have been out there. I enjoy that. Well, I got to know Ken Kiefer so well because him and his boys from the moment I was there. I mean, they were there before I was there, but I watched those two grow up and become men and really became friends with him. And, you know, knowing people around the ballpark and, you know, Phil Grinstead, who was right on the wall with me, we would tell, you know, a joke every day when I'd come down the bullpen. And I love it, you know, and I got a chance to actually stop by in ball hawk a couple times. One time on my bike, just pulled up and actually I was literally there like 30 seconds and Mo, who's out there, I go, hey Mo, are they taking BP today? And he goes, just the Astros. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, or no, it was the Brewers. He goes, just the Brewers. I was like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, I think they're getting ready to start. And all of a sudden, like I'd been there 30 seconds. I just looped my bike back around so I was facing the air. Incoming! And I look up and here comes the ball. And I just reach up with my bare hand. And Mo's behind me. Some dude's in front of me. They both got gloves and I barehand it. I get on my bike and I just ride away. I flip the ball back and go, hey, happy to help out, boys. See you later.
Hey, I actually have the video right here. Hold on.
Just so nonchalant. Hey, good seeing you guys. Take it easy.
You're on your bike. Those two guys, they're tall and they got their gloves, and you just sit there and just put up the hand, and it's right there.
Well, and that's the entertainer in you right there. You knew this is my exit. You didn't have to leave. You didn't have anywhere to go. You're just like, this is my exit. If I throw this, legendary.
Yes, you're exactly right. As soon as I caught it, I'm like, don't overreact. You've done this before. Right away, man. Just right away.
And so, no, with the like the performance aspect and knowing that comedy thing, you did off the mound. You've been hosted at Cubs Con, and you've got the show on Marquee Sports Network now, and you're interviewing Andre Dawson on. I saw that episode. Really cool stuff. You know, getting to know some of these guys. Do you have aspirations to maybe be like David Letterman? You know, or like do that? I mean, I know you're doing it now, kind of already, but would you take that on a more national level? And you know, if that opportunity came up to really host a talk show like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I feel comfortable. I'm still learning the craft of interviewing guys and doing that, and really, you know, focusing on trying to hone that as much as possible. You know, I would love to get back into an improv class again and doing those things. I was loving the stand-up. You know, before COVID hit, I was in New York, New Jersey, you know, Chicago, trying to get up and do that as much as I could. And I love it. And I just love the avenue of humanizing these guys a little bit, you know, or, you know, talking to them about who they are just a little bit so that we can just remember that sometimes. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's fantasy sports or betting on baseball, you know, like sports betting, not Pete Rose betting on baseball, but like, you know, sports booking, that all of a sudden, like, we don't like a player because he strikes out. Like the dude tried to strike out in that moment. You know, like he was like, you know what I think I'm going to do right here with the bases loaded? I'm going to go up and punch out. This would be fun.
I want to see these fans sad. Let's go.
And it's like, and so it's, you know, we never know what's going on in somebody's life behind the scenes, what they're dealing with, you know. And so if we can just humanize it, guy doesn't run down to first base, boo his ass all day. Boo him, boo him. If you don't hustle, that's all you got to do. You get paid $30 million a year to play baseball. If you can't run hard 4 times in a game, if you don't walk, strike out, get hit by a pitch, or hit a homer, all I take out of you is 4 times a day. I'm going to need you to run hard. That's it. If you can't do that, boo.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people sitting in seats that would gladly try that out. So, like, that's my only time for booing. I understand being frustrated. I understand the boos, but, like, the true meanness of it all. So, for me, that's the passion behind it. Plus, I love – there's so many guys sometimes, you know, like, we see them and we just see them play. And then we get to see them, and I got to see them, and I see them in a locker room or in a hotel room playing the guitar. They get some hidden talent, and we're like, whoa. So let's show that. Let's highlight that. And, you know, baseball players occasionally used to be a celebrity, right? Like the Mickey Mantle was a celebrity, Joe DiMaggio. Now everybody knows everybody. Social media, the guys have, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers. They want to see what's up with this guy and, you know what they're up to in the off season and not just baseball. So it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Now, Ryan, I saw you do your stand-up. This is with at John Vincent's show at Rizzo's, where you opened up, and we love Johnny, great guy. But you also did. I thought this was amazing. You kind of came out of the bullpen when Jeff Garland couldn't do Rizzo's laugh off for cancer. It was a charity. How hard was that? Compare that to like closing a game. Like you weren't asked. You just all of a sudden just kind of came up and did it. How hard was that?
Yeah, and because like I didn't really have anything scripted, you know, it was like, oh man, like sure I'll do this. Like I had some material in my head, but like for that actual event, I just kind of was like, well, like, you know, guys, we do this to each other all the time, and I was like tight with a lot of those guys. I'm like, I'm just gonna roast them all,
yeah,
you know, just bash every one of them, and you know, it was just kind of a lot of fun, and you know, I think honestly, it was an adrenaline rush. It really was. Pitching in front of 40,000 people at Wrigley Field for a lot of my life and around the big leagues and playing in Worlds, it's hard sometimes to move the needle. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is really exciting right now, or I'm nervous as hell. Like that was one of those moments where like I think I was sweating. I'm like, I'm nervous right now. I got all these players in here. Joe Madden's over there. You know, we're at this big fundraiser, and I got to do, and I loved it, and that really like catapulted me into doing more stand up and doing different things. So yeah, it was definitely like the time I, you know, pitched in the All-Star game in the 08 All-Star game. It was like, you're not going to pitch. Oh, okay. I got my shoes undone and I'm taking a leak. And next thing you know, it's a tie game in the bottom of the ninth. Hey, you're in. What?
Now I got to admit, I'm a Cubs Con fanatic. I love Cubs Con. And Cub Con fanatics are very picky. Like if anything's new, they don't like it. And so like they're still like pining for win, lose, or draw and stuff like that. But 2015, we're sitting there and we take a look and what's this off the mound Dempster? We had no idea what it was. And you came out and you absolutely it just has now become something that people really look forward to. This is when you had the 08 team playing some Flippy Cup.
Flip Cup.
You had Rizzo that first year taking some BP for you. You even got Theo to kind of play this game with the mouth, trying to get him to guess.
Wait, did you have Theo taking like? Isn't that from the movie Saw?
We played Speak Out. Jed, by the way, did not want to do. That's why I love Theo. Theo's not afraid to make himself look vulnerable or put himself in a vulnerable position. Jed's like, wait, I got to put this in my mouth and. You know, like look weird, you know, it was really funny. He was like, I don't want to do this, but he did it. And they both manned up and it was absolutely hilarious.
Can you tell us though how Off the Mound kind of came to be part of Cubs Con? Was that your idea or how did that all kind of evolve?
Yeah, well, kind of a collective idea. Max Berman, who used to work for the Cubs, Max ran in-game stuff at the field and dealt with a lot of the celebrities and players and first pitches and all those kind of things. And he just was like, hey, him and Jim Obojkovich were like, hey, would you be interested in, you know, hosting a kind of a variety show? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what we'll do. And so the first year we did it, you know, just writing up everything from a monologue. I mean, It was I didn't eat or drink after noon because they didn't have a bathroom break for 2.5 hours. And it was just, putting these guests together. And then the fun part was all the little videos, the digital, the little shorts that we'd filmed. And
I really need to make a note of that, to not do that before this podcast.
Yeah,
you gotta get some sort of catheter, or depends.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to have a 5-hour show sometime, and just depends the whole thing and see how that goes. No,
who's weighs the most at the end,
Yeah, I mean, I love those shows that you do, and I love it when a ball player, like you said, they can play guitar. Like I know John Baker has been on this show a few times. He loves playing guitar. He's got other interests outside of baseball. Ian Happ has his podcast, which you went on. It was that last year, I believe, sometime. Yep. And and people don't realize that this is performance. I know that there's a physical athlete part of it that people don't think of as the same as being a stand-up comedian or a musician or something, but I really do see the connections, especially when it comes to somebody like you. So I think you explained a little bit about the adrenaline and the difference between like execution, but what do you think is harder? I mean, to you, are you more nervous as a performer, or are you more nervous like going up to the mound back when you were?
I'm more nervous as a performer, but it's easier. Like, when you're pitching, it's like, all right, I know what I'm ready for. Like I've done it so many times, been doing this since I was a kid. It's just a game between the lines. It's the same thing. It's harder though. Like every game's different. It always changes. The outcome can change. How you deal with emotions up there, it's easy because I'm just more worried that the video is going to go at the right time. And, I'm not sitting there, not smile. I want to smile. I'm entertaining. I'm trying to make sure people are having fun. That's what we're there for. We're there to laugh and have fun. So I want to make sure that they hit. There's the joke that I'm going to tell is, do I deliver it the right way? Am I practicing enough? Am I going through my So I'm more nervous that it's going to come off the right, how I perceive it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I'm playing a baseball game, I just know I know what I'm ready for and I'm prepared. It's the hard part is actually executing and getting it done.
Speaking about execution, of all the Cub luck, the first year they have their own channel, pandemic. And I'm just curious, what did you envision for Off the Mound as a TV show? I've seen it live at CubsCon for years. You gave me a Budweiser every year. You would hand it me because I'm always in the first row. But what did you envision for Off the Mound as far as being on marquee?
Yeah, like we actually, before all this hit, we were going to film it at Stage 773. So we were going to do like a live studio audience, probably about 100 to 120 people in there with the band and everything. The Hemispheres, that's how, when we first did the show in 2015 and 16, we had no band. And then my good buddy, Pat Muldoon, who's the guitar player for the Hemispheres, was like, I talked to him about it. I said, I would love to do this and just add the music elements. So it is like that late night talk show. And so my vision of the show isn't, filming it from home, but that's okay. Circumstances are what they are. I love the interviews. I'm having fun doing that. But it's also faster, right? Your half-hour show, it's 22 minutes of content. You get, 2 8-minute interviews in a B block and a C block. There's not much left for the fun stuff that I love to do. So if we could be able to do that again, that would be great. But it was just fun. Here we were in a pandemic. We left. We rented a place in Lake Geneva. My ex has a place up there, so the kids we were a mile away from each other. It was great, and we're just kids that can go back and forth. And I'm like sitting there drinking scotch one night, and I'm like, I wonder if I could just do this from home. So I start texting guys in my phone, and I'm just going through. I'm playing online poker, and I'm like, I'm just everybody I got. I'm like, would you be interested? Would you be interested? And I'm like, they're kind of free, like their schedule is wide open. So and they just were like, yep. And I'm like, oh, right on. And then I just called Marquee and I said, hey, I'd be willing to do this. My first one I did from looked like a sauna. It was a sunroom at the rental house and with Trout and Rizzo, and it was just a blast. Got Trout to change a diaper. Nailed it. Shocker. He's just good at everything he does. So
right. He did it while running back towards the wall.
Yeah, totally.
But you know what, Ryan? It makes me interested. It interests me that you say that because, baseball does such a poor job, I feel, of marketing their stars, where what you're talking about is humanizing them. Here's Mike Trout changing a diaper. It's funny. And I wish MLB would kind of pay more attention to that, kind of doing more to kind of make their stars bigger, to give them more exposure, to humanize them like you were talking about.
Well, yeah, like, what are you going to do? Show another Mike Trout highlight of him in a homer? Cool. Awesome. Great. Hey, Mike, you made a good catch. No kidding. Oh, what'd you finish? Second in MVP or first this year? It's like, but to see Mike Trout change a diaper, I'm like, right on, man. Like, this is, and for him to, be a part of that. And so fans are like, and he can do that. Oh, man, or like, I'm surprised Huggies wasn't calling and being like, hey, we'd love to do a commercial. Mike doesn't like to do commercials, so that's okay. But yeah, like I think it just shows that they're more than just the ball player and and relatable. When guys are a little bit more relatable, it makes us feel better. Like when a superstar is like, you can actually like feel like you can touch them. It's like, oh, right on. That's, yeah, you know what? I get that. I understand that. Or tell me a tough story or a moment you had or whatever it was. Or Sean Casey sharing the story about, after beating us in 2004 and then having the bus driver stop in front of Guthrie's and running in and telling all the Cubs fans to suck it. Yeah, you son of a gun, so it's pretty funny.
My last real great moment before this pandemic started was the Extra Inning Festival. I was at the Inning Festival in Arizona. How much of a role did you play in kind of getting all of that off the ground? And is that just intersecting your musical interest again with your comedy and with baseball? Yeah.
So MLB and Mary Beck, who was the head of marketing for Major League Baseball TV, MLB TV, she set up the year before the first year of the Innings Fest. Me and Jim Thome went out and we interviewed some different musicians. There's always the saying, athletes want to be rock stars want to be athletes. And I think there's just a common respect for each other. They're up there on a stage. I'm out there in the middle of the mound. It's kind of like the same type of feeling at times. Like you're a little bit vulnerable and you're a little bit like, it's up to you to just make it happen right here and everybody's watching. But we always had this appreciation. And then music is such a huge part of baseball, like ginormous part of baseball. From the minor leagues, from Fogarty playing center field, blaring through every minor league park to the Oregon at Wrigley to take me out to the ball game. I mean, and it just has like endless, walk-up songs and all. The minute anybody who's a baseball fan, you could be somewhere, you'd be at the gym and you hear Hell's Bells, you're like, where's Trevor Hoffman? Yeah. And so I approached Tim Sweetwood, who's the gentleman who runs the festival, and I was like, hey, would you be interested in us doing the show? We could build a little stage somewhere. First, we were going to do it on one of the stages in between as like one of the musical acts, and he's like, well, I already have everything built. Why don't we build a stage over by the baseball stuff? And I was like, perfect. And we did a couple shows. Our shows, and they were awesome, and we got great guests. And Eddie came up on the last night, a surprise to all the guests. We didn't say who was going to be there, and we just interviewed these guys, and we had an absolute blast. And we were incorporating music, and we had the band playing and everything. So it's like you're at a music festival, got the hemispheres playing music, and we're talking to these players who, by the way, you can learn to hit from them at the batting cage in 45 minutes, or you can get pitching tips from Roger Clemens, and then we can interview them, and you can see that side, like. And the best compliment I got was my uncle. He wasn't a big fan of rockets. He didn't like not you, but and I said, yeah, but you just don't know him like I do. He's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not a fan, And afterwards, he said to me, he said, man, thanks, dude. He's like, I judged him on something that I don't really know anything about. Only what I've read in papers or people's articles. I don't know. And he goes, and I love the interview, and I'm a Roger Clemens fan, and I'm like, that's what this is about, man. It's like we all go through life, man. If we all think we're perfect human beings, and shame on you, we've all done things that we probably maybe not, but we've all done things we probably wish we would have done a little differently. And at the end of the day, he's a really good dude. And so it was really, that was, and now we're good. We did it again, and it was 4 shows in 2 days. We were doing half-hour, 40-minute shows, and now we've already signed on to do the 2022 show, and 3 weeks later we're going to do it down in Tampa for the first time. So Innings Fest down in Tampa too. So it's just been a lot of fun, and I love music and I love baseball, and to meld them together just seemed like just a logical thing to do.
Well, if you ever want to live out your rock and roll fantasies with the Bleacher Bum Band, opening day at G-Man Tavern, you can take the stage and we'll play whatever song you want.
All right.
And you can rock out with us.
Yeah.
We had last year, right when the pandemic hit, we talked to Chris Bryant's father, Mike, and he plays a little guitar, and so I told him he's welcome too. So we might just leave the stage actually, and just let you guys do your thing, the Dempster and Mike Bryant band. Well, we really appreciate your time here tonight. Ryan, I know as we're just starting spring training, we're about at the anniversary of where everything got banged last year with when everything hit and got canceled, and then we ended up with a 60-game season. But I'm looking forward to 162. I'm looking forward to seeing more off the mound. I'm looking forward to. I really hope that happens at Stage 773. I've actually sound designed a show down there. It's a great venue. And I would love for that to happen. I think that would be such an exciting thing for Cubs fans to see more of you. And you're just such an entertaining guy in so many ways. And just appreciate your time tonight with us. And hopefully you'll come back on and visit us again and tell us more war stories. And we got to get you out to Club 400 out in Lake Hills, where we've our friend Stuart, Carly's drinking the beer. Our friend Stuart has raised over $500,000 for different charities, having Cub players come. We have to get you out there too sometime. But really, thank you so much for coming on. And I don't know what else to say except thanks, man. And
we talk on this show a lot about how players, with the fans, as far as the way they treat them. You've always been a stand-up guy with the fans, whether it's the Ball Hawks, the Bleacher Bums, whoever. You've always been a stand-up guy to the fans, and that's why you were so beloved as a player, and that's why people still enjoy being around you now. Is that you don't big time people. You always treat people with kindness and empathy, and I'm just so glad you were able to come on.
Well, no, I appreciate it. At the end of the day, I understand that this game is nothing without the fans. Like when I retired, they didn't like stop playing baseball. They just kept playing. When the greatest players in the game stop, the games keep going. And we are owed nothing. We owe everything to the game of baseball and to the fans. And I think that the fact that 2020 happened highlighted that more than anything. That we can play a 60-game season with empty stadiums, but it's not the same. And I can't wait to see fans at Wrigley Field, to see you guys at Wrigley Field. And I appreciate you letting me come on and share some stories, because the fans are what it's all about. Those are the memories, hearing them cheer your name and applaud you after a good outing and booing you when you run down the line, not as fast as you should, to kick you in the butt, to just remind you, hey man, play hard. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'd be thrilled to come on again some other time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Ryan. That's great.
For all the Son Ranto Show people out there, we're probably going to come back at you on maybe Sunday or sometime next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And I'm going to play a going out song about some not so great fans that were once in Wrigley Field a couple years ago. Here's the Bleacher Bum Band and No Fighting in the Bleachers. And we'll see you guys next time we do a show.
There's no fighting in the bleachers! There's no fighting in the bleachers! There's no fighting in the bleachers! There is no fighting in the bleachers. What did your mama teach you? There is no fighting in the bleachers. So take that shit outside. There is no fighting in the bleachers. What did your mama teach you? There is no fighting in the bleachers. So take that shit outside. And acted like a punk and watch him
Put your phone away.
My Ulysses that up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Walk away, guys. Put your phone away. You're on private property. You don't have permission to videotape anyone. You don't put it away. No, you don't. You put it away, or I.
There's no fighting in the bleachers. There's no fighting in the bleachers. There's no fighting in the bleachers.